Conference will
RG,
now be
he
recorded.
is there. And good. And Esty and Ariane and Andre. Good. Okay. Good. And in terms of moving, where are we at with that?
I will be moving this month.
Beautiful. Good. Okay. And that's going to be
I think near here, I can't remember what's the cluster bill. One of them's Maine. I think it's near.
okay. Okay. Very good. Okay. So that's out of the Eruv, but Aaron is a.
What if I were to do like when I don't have it on, I come here, and when I do have it on, we will go into the bottom of Irvine because his grandparents live close to the bottom.
That works. That works. I'm willing to share. Okay, let's pick up. So I think we're up to 217. Is that right?
Where we last? I had 205, but unless I missed it.
That might be the case. Someone else help me. I had a bookmark sitting over there. Yeah, I think we did. Yeah. 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 So I think it is, Trumas and Masros we did. I think we're up to selecting 217. Does that sound right?
I absolutely bring anything besides my pen. Sorry. Do you want to share? No, it's okay. I would love to listen to what Rabbi say.
Okay. So Borer. Okay, so when it comes to Shabbos and when it comes to the things that are issues for us on Shabbos, it's mostly bishul. It's mostly the cooking dinim, the cooking laws that are really, and we work through how we prepare before Shabbos, and we work through leaving things on the blech or a covered surface, and then when you can return things, which things are considered fully cooked, and even if they're cold, they can be warmed up in a non-looking cooking manner. And when do we say ein bishul achar bishul? There's no cooking after cooking. Once it's cooked, it's cooked. When it is
looks like cooking.
Wait. When do we say when it's a solid? Then once it's cooked, right? And therefore we can take rice, we can take a kugel, we can take chicken, not the gravy, but chicken out of the fridge on Shabbos morning and put it onto a warming surface for it, as long as that warming surface is not a warming surface that's normally used for cooking. Because if it's normally used for cooking, then granted we don't have the problem of cooking, we have the problem of mechazei kadishel. It appears like cooking, and that also we can't do, right? And here in the shul, we follow that a hot plate is not something that one normally cooks upon, therefore it can go onto a hot plate. There are those that disagree, and you'll probably come across that. We go to different houses, different situations, right? Okay, but if you're putting it onto a blech, the metal covering on top of a fire, you'll need to go on the perimeter of that, or you could put it kli al gabe kli, which is Rachel, a vessel on top of a vessel, because that is not a normal way of cooking. And if you have a blech and you don't have a vessel there, what can you do? What's the workaround there? What's the fix? Take a 9x13 aluminum pan, flip it over, put it there, and then put the food, kli agave kli, one vessel on top of the other vessel. Again, that's only working for things that are not going to be considered cooked when you heat them up, as opposed to liquids, as opposed to a pan of chicken with gravy on the bottom coming out of the fridge. If you're going to put that on, that's going to turn into a liquid. That will be a problem. Certainly, a soup is a problem that it cannot be warmed up on Shabbos. Okay, going in Friday night, you leave it on the bluff. That's something else, right? But to take it cold out of the fridge, that we can't have. There's no way of doing that. If you have a pan of chicken Friday night and you have some left over, and you want to be able to serve that or eat that Shabbos day, what's the best way to go about doing that? What would you do?
Put them in the microwave.
Yes, Orly, what would you do?
Everybody's like, what?
Yeah, right. Take it out of the pan, right, and then put it into a dry pan, and that way there'll always be a little bit of on it, a little juice that will come out of it, right? But that will be a good way of doing it as long as you don't put it into the. Yeah. Okay.
But are we going to serve it cold?
I'm sorry.
Are we going to serve it cold? Or
If you want to serve it cold, then then however you want to do it, you can do it. If you want to serve it hot, then you've got to take it out of the pan that it's in, right? Because you've got a lot of gravy in that pan. You put that pan into the fridge, it's going to turn into it's going to solidify. You warm it up the next day, it's going to turn back into a very soupy liquid of gravy on the bottom, and that we can't do. That's bishul after bishul when it comes to liquids. Okay. Another major issue is borer. Borer is selecting, okay? And so there are 3 requirements. We'll see as we go through, but this is a question they love to ask because this is a very, very relevant question that comes up, right? And that is, when is borer, when is selecting allowed? And the answer is when you have 3 conditions. It is miyad, for immediate usage. Biyad, literally biyad means with your yad, with your hand. It doesn't have to be your hand. It could also be a spoon or a fork or an extension of your hand, but as opposed to a separating implement like a sifter or something like that. So miyad, for immediate usage, biyad, with your hand, and it has to be the good from the bad. The ochel, the food, from the pesolet. The pesolet is the waste, right? However, if I've got 2 things mixed up, 2 foods mixed up, and I want one and not the other, then the one that I want is the ochel, is the food. The one that I don't want is the pesolet. So it's got to be the good from the bad. It's got to be biyad, and it's got to be miyad for immediate usage. For what? Ochel mitoch pesolet. Ochel, food, mitoch, from the midst of the pesolet, of the way, the good from the bad. That's a good way of putting it. The good from the bad. Okay? So, 219. One has performed a prohibited method of selection if one separates the unwanted part of food from the wanted part. If you're doing the bad from the good, that's a problem. Now, this can come up very often. You bring out a bowl of grapes for dessert, and you see there are some grapes that are not looking all that good, right? So if it's a weekday, what would you do? You would remove those grapes and you're good to go. On Shabbos, that's a problem because that's the bad from the good. Okay, so we'll discuss how you would deal with that on Shabbos. But one has performed a prohibited method of selection if you're taking the bad from the good, the unwanted from the wanted. 2, from a mixture of 2 kinds of objects, one separates the kind that is unwanted at the moment, okay? Even though there might both be 2 good things, but right now I want this, I don't want that. And once again, that's the bad from the good. One sorts different kinds of objects or foods into groups of their own kinds, okay? And I imagine the issue over there will be that it's not, if I'm separating into groups, then that'll be a problem of it's not miyad. It's not for immediate usage.
Like
Okay.
choosing your Shabbos clothes.
So choosing the Shabbos clothes, that's not a problem. You're choosing your good from the bad and you're getting dressed, right? Right? The issue would be
Holding them.
folding is another, right? The issue would be, well, the hamper. Well, again, if I'm pulling things out of the hamper, it's the good from the bad. Let's see the examples they give. Okay. One, so page 220. One may not separate the unwanted material from a food. Bones, seeds, other inedible parts of food are considered its unwanted material. Okay, so I'm going to take some issue over here with some of the things that they're going to bring. Okay, in our little picture over here. So I think the mother, what would you say she's working on that? A cantaloupe. That's what it looks like to me. Yeah, cantaloupe or honeydew. So in fact, cantaloupe or honeydew, one could remove the seeds. Why? Why might that be the case? Well, yes, but that's usually the case of the good from the bad, right? He's taking the bad from the good. But it's only a problem when it is a mixture, right? A cantaloupe or a honeydew, I don't have a mixture of the seeds in the flesh of the honeydew or cantaloupe. It's a whole ball, separate unit, right? So there are those that say, and that's what I follow, that is not a problem of borer. Again, because borer is from a mixture. If it's not a mixture, then there's no issue of borer, right? Another example that I'll give of it not being a mixture. So when I was, I guess 18, I don't know. The summer that I met Natalie, I was working in the hotel as a waiter, right? And what would happen is, let's say on a Friday night, so we bring all of our stuff in, and there'd be non-Jewish workers there who'd be washing it, and then we would get all of our silverware back. Okay. Now the silverware needed to make its way back into our server so you start setting things up, right? But it's a big mixture of silverware, right? So how do we do that? So we would sort of spread it out, right? A big table, we'd spread it out. Now it's not a mixture. It's not a mixture. The last one over here is a knife. Pick up the knife, put it in that drawer. Next one is a fork. I'm not digging out the forks, digging out.
Doing it one by one?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you spread it out?
Spread it out. And then it's not a mixture. It's not a mixture. There's no issue of borer. That's one way of doing it.
Yeah.
Trisha, you have to domesticate this guy. Okay. Now, let's take a look at the older son. What's he working on? He's working on a watermelon. Okay. So there are those that say, and this is the standard classic, watermelon, well, there it is mixed in, right? The seeds are interspersed throughout the flesh of that watermelon. So him going with a knife and knocking out those seeds, that's a problem. Okay? And they would say, so what do you need to do? What you need to do is put the watermelon in your mouth. If there are some seeds there, and get rid of the seeds. Okay? Sorry?
I was gonna say the bathroom is good.
Well, no, once it,
You chose them the good.
yeah. Okay? Now, there are those that say that that's not going to be a problem. Even what this little man is doing over there, that's not going to be a problem. The reason being, that is derech achila. That's not a means of being borer. That's the way that it's eaten. That's the way that you eat it, right?
We
And
should swallow the seeds then.
you could swallow seeds. Yeah.
So like when we make the guacamole with the Hernandez team, and on Shabbat we're cutting it open and taking out the seed. We do that because
That's the way you eat it.
So there again,
Or wouldn't it be because if we don't ever eat the
but that makes it
avocado?
psolet, right? Again, the seeds is the stuff that you don't want, and that is a classic definition of psolet, of the waste, right? But over there, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's interesting.
Is it kind of like cantaloupe?
Yeah, I could hear that. I could hear that. That over there, we're not really talking about a mixture, right? It's sitting on top, right? You cut it in half, you break it apart. One half doesn't have, the other one has the pits sitting on top over there. Yeah. Okay, what else can I argue with? Okay, what's that guy? What's the father eating?
I think like a pear or something, an apple.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so remove. I would say there that would be more of a problem,
The
right?
avocado
No, no,
or the apple.
the apple, right? So there, yeah. So when you eat an apple, you eat around that, or you flour an apple, right? Yeah. Okay. Removing bones. Okay. So again, that's going to be a similar issue as the watermelon. There are those that say you have to you can't remove the bones. You've got to cut the chicken off the bone as opposed to knocking out the bone. Others will say once again that's derech achila. That's the normal way of eating. Okay. Now it's because of these laws that we have that classic Jewish food known as gefilte fish, an all-time favorite, right? A gefilte fish,
It's an acquired taste.
ABC food is like Akchua food.
gefilte fish. Okay, what does gefilte fish mean? What's gefilte? That's a Yiddish word for gefilte. It's been filtered or it's filleted or filtered, right? Meaning there are no bones in it, right? Because when you're eating fish, a regular piece of fish, if there are lots of bones in there, you've got some serious borer challenges, right? Serious borer challenges. And that's why the custom we have to eat gefilte fish, to eat fish that doesn't have any bones in there. And therefore you don't have any issues, right? Classic Jewish joke. You know how you can identify a gefilte fish in the ocean? It's the only fish with a piece of carrot on its head. Sorry. Okay. Huh? Well, it did initially. It did initially. But really, that is why gefilte fish, right? Now, yeah, there are different types of gefilte fish, right? There are those that they sell in the bottle, and that jellied stuff that some people really like. Other people are not as fond of it, right? That's right. Then they also sell the logs that you either bake or boil, right? And those I enjoy. I actually have that. Yeah, that we'll eat sometimes. Okay. So one may not separate the unwanted material from a food. Two, from a mixture of two kinds, it's prohibited to separate the object one doesn't want from those that one wants. Okay, that's what removing unwanted fruits, right, and clothing over there. The diamond on 221, the prohibition applies even when the unwanted objects are fit for eating or any other use. It's only that one does not want them in that particular moment, right? So it doesn't have to be ochel, food from sola, from waste. It could be ochel from ochel, food from food, but the one that I want is the ochel, the one that I don't want is the waste, right? So one cannot remove the unwanted fruits and clothes. One can remove the wanted ones that you want, the good from the bad, that is fine. Number 3 on page 222, it is forbidden to sort objects or foods into their respective groups. For example, sorting silverware into the separate piles of spoons and forks, or sorting fruits, clothes, and toys into separate piles. That will be a problem if it starts off as a mixture, right? Like I mentioned in the hotel, we turned it into a non-mixture, right? And thereby we were no longer sorting. Okay, 223. The permitted matter of selecting not from a mixture. Only when all three of the following conditions are present may one select food or other objects from a mixture. Right? This is the question that always, if they're going to ask about Shabbos, they're going to ask about Borer, they're going to want to hear these three things. Okay, only when all three. Let's hear. The desired object has to be removed from undesired objects and not vice versa. Good from the bad. It's forbidden to the opposite, take away the unwanted from the food one wants. Okay. For example, it's prohibited to separate the bones from meat or fish, or the pit from fruit when one is eating these foods. Rather, one must separate the meat or the fruit from the unwanted parts and leave the bones or pit on the plate. Similarly, any garment that is not needed at that moment may not be taken from a pile of clothes. Second diamond, the selecting must be done by hand and not with a special tool for separating, like a sieve or a sifter. A spoon or fork, as they are normally used, are not considered special tools for separating, right? So that's not considered industrial separating. That's just the normal manner. Lastly, the selecting may be done if the items is needed for immediate use, right? So number two is what we called biyad. Yad is a hand, with your hand. Number three is miyad, right? Which means immediately, right? We have an expression also. It's on hand, is where we would say that it's ready for immediate usage. That's miyad. Okay, food may be selected if it will be eaten right away, and clothes they'll be worn right away. They may not be selected if they are to be eaten or worn later in the day. And the preparations that you do for a meal immediately prior to the meal, that is considered miyad, for the immediate usage. Okay? Thus, 224, one may select items from a mixture only if all three conditions are fulfilled. The wanted object is separated from the unwanted. Separation is done by hand. Objects for immediate use. You have a nice picture over there. The object, all right, removing a garment to wear it, certainly allowed. Removing a fruit mixed with peels, right? So you're pulling out the one that you want. Summary, 225. Selecting two kinds that are mixed together. The malachta of selecting is permitted only when all three conditions exist: by hand, wanted items from the unwanted, immediate use. Okay? So let's see what this little thing. Yeah, okay. So basically saying the same thing over and over. If you're using a tool, forget it. Right? No good. It's got to be by hand. Right? By hand. The food from the unwanted, right? Continue on. Unwanted, no good. Immediate use, later use. Okay, there's another way of making it clear, I think. Okay, 226. A fly falls into a drink. Okay, sounds like Paro and the butler, right? If a fly or any other unwanted object falls into a drink or food, it should not be removed alone, but should be taken out together with a little of the drink or food, and only then throw away. Okay? Removing only the fly, forbidden. Removing the fly with a little liquid, permitted. I think in most cases we would just kind of get another glass.
Yeah. Old days, probably people don't want to waste things.
Yeah. Okay, filtering drinks. One may not filter or strain unwanted matter from liquids by means of a sieve or a piece of cloth. One may, and we'll go through some examples soon. One may slowly pour liquids from a vessel, even if one's purpose is for the unwanted matter to remain behind in the vessel. Okay, so here we've got some juice filled with pits. Okay, so what you can't do is what the daughter is doing: putting it through a sifter. What you can do, what mom is doing, which is slowly, gently pouring, that is permitted. One must take care to stop pouring as soon as the flow stops and only drops are coming out as soon as the flow stops. Okay, in the case of the mother there, since it's a separate unwanted, which is forbidden. Okay, now, let's say a Brita filter. Guys familiar with the Brita filters? It's basically, it's a water pitcher that has this coal unit, and the water goes through that, and it purifies the water. Okay? Problem or no problem?
No problem.
No problem.
I don't remember.
Thank
why,
you,
but-
Rabbi. Why no problem?
I don't remember why, but I remember that was one of Ava's questions.
That you can't see
Yeah.
it?
I'm sorry?
You can't see what's being separated?
Correct. Correct. Right? Meaning, right? We're putting in water, taking out water. There's nothing visible that one is. Now, for a while, there was a big question in the New York water system. There were these little, very, very small bugs that were there, and being that they're not visible to the naked eye, it was not considered to be an issue. I'm not talking now about Shabbos. I'm talking now about not having bugs, right? Right. You know, the truth is, I'm pretty sure that if you put a lot of our food under a microscope, you'd see a good amount of movement going on over there. I don't want to gross anybody out, but there'd be some good movement going on over there, right? And we have a beautiful, beautiful rule. The Gemara says, "Lo nitna Torah l'malachei hasharet." The Torah was not given to ministering angels. Okay, we're not angels, and we deal with that which we can deal with, that which we know about, and we don't have to start checking things with a microscope. Okay, so that's a Brita filter. Where else do we have? Oh, let me ask you a question. So let's say you buy a bag of grapes, right? And you want to wash off the grapes. And the grapes come in a perforated plastic bag. That's how they come. So can I just wash it out going through the bag? I say you can. Sorry. Right? I say you can. Why would I say you can? There's nothing visible that's being washed off. Right? I'm sorry?
Sometimes those grapes are dirty.
Maybe it depends where you buy the grapes. I know I shouldn't say I'm a diehard wholesome choice guy.
Me too.
So
But I do have to wash vegetables from there. It's like you, I was like, you eat dirt otherwise.
yeah.
Well, for the if you
Yeah.
go through the-
Is it not considered a tool?
So it's not really considered a tool, it's just a bag. And there's nothing really visible that is being sifted out over there. Right? The classic sifting, I'm putting flour through, and in Israel, right, you used to sift the flour and there'd be a couple of worms sitting on top afterwards, so little buggies, right? Yeah, in Israel you have to sift the flour. Right? Here, Israelis come, you have to sift the flour. Wow, it's amazing. Right? Here we don't, right? But that's not considered to be separating anything, right? Water's going in, water's going out, right? Now, sometimes you'll hear people saying that you shouldn't use a spoon with holes in it. There's a better word than that for that. Slotted, still better. I don't know.
Ladle.
No. Yeah.
The spoon have like a little chip next to it.
No.
With the holes in it.
The holes in the spoon. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah. Okay. Now, to use that to go into your soup pot, and to pull out, right? So that would not be the usual spoon, knife, fork extension of my hands. That's more of a, is it serrated? Is that what it's called?
That's a knife.
That's a knife. So we're
I can tell you don't spend much time in the kitchen.
Don't get me in trouble with that. Don't rat me out. Okay. Yeah. We made it this far. We're good. We're good. Baruch Hashem. Yeah. So that would be a problem right to be pulling stuff out of the soup pot. You want to pull out a matzah ball or a piece of chicken or a carrot or something like that. Now, can I use a ladle to pull out? I can. Why is that okay? I'm not really separating, and there's going to be some other stuff coming along with it also, right? Yeah, that would not be very. That would not go over so well in my house. Yeah. No, what I'm saying is, can I go in there in order to get? I want to get a matzo ball. I'm not just laying it out. I have specific things in mind. That will not be an act of separating, because there's also along the matzo ball is coming soup, is coming other stuff that's coming out along with that. Okay. Another thing that comes. Okay. Now with that same holy spoon, we'll call it, right? Now let's say I've got some coleslaw. That's going out in a serving bowl. Can I put a spoon with holes in there to use? So there you would be allowed to.
People aren't just like looking
Right. And it's not going to completely, it's not that, when I go into the soup with that, all the soup comes out and all I'm left with is the matzo ball or the piece of chicken, whatever it is. When it's like a coleslaw, which has a lot of liquid in it, right? So then there's liquid coming out also, right? Some will come out, some will stay in. It's not really going to be an act of separating, right? But you will see places where they'll say, no, don't use that spoon. Okay. One last thing that I wanted to mention. Oh, so what's interesting is it's only an issue if I'm doing an act of separating. So let's say I got a piece of meat and there's a nice piece of fat alongside, a piece of meat with a nice piece of fat alongside of it. And I want to get rid of the fat, right? So for me to cut right in between the meat and the fat, that would be an act of separating. But let's say I cut in the meat, leaving a little bit of meat along with the fat, or I cut in the fat, leaving a little bit of fat along with the meat. So I haven't done an act of separation. I've cut the meat into two pieces. I've cut the fat into two pieces. So there it's not an act of separating, and therefore that would be allowed in such a
What if I
case.
pull it?
It doesn't matter if you're right, if you're taking the bad from the good, right? So we saw that diagram. If you're using your hand, it's good as long as you're taking the good from the bad. Now, if you want to, with your hands, right, pull the meat from the fat, then right, you probably want to use it for.
Yeah, I agree. Like fat would be not that big. but
Especially for
probably
serving
pull
people
it.
at your house.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Ew.
Yeah.
All Jews, like, they know this? Because I feel like this is a lot.
I'm sorry?
Like,
Wait, what'd you ask, Orly? I'm sorry?
all Jews, like, grow up knowing, like, about the selecting and the fat from the meat and the don't.
Do you think most Jews know as much as you guys do? No way.
I'm so concerned that I've just been
No way.
unaware that I'm selecting. I've been selecting since I mixed it, and I'm so concerned. And I don't know if I'll remember this all. This is a lot.
Okay, well, you get into the rhythm. Let's see over here, and I'm probably going to disagree with him on some of the things here. 228, separating unwanted matter by means of water. One may not separate unwanted matter mixed with fruit or food by means of water. That's if you've got tangible dirt on the food, then rinsing it off with the water would be a problem, right? One may not pour water on food mixed with unwanted matter, so the unwanted matter will float or sink and thus be easier to remove. Again, this is talking about tangible unwanted matter. Look at the mother on the right hand side there. It says advisable to rinse fruits before Shabbos. It doesn't say you need to rinse fruits. It's advisable. Why? Because I think the very point that I was making before. There's nothing visible, nothing tangible when you're washing off the fruits. There's nothing tangible, visible that is being removed. So it's not really an act of borer, right? It's advisable to rinse fruits for Shabbos, since some authorities consider rinsing under a faucet as selecting. Okay, yeah. Again, you'll see some people holding that. I personally don't hold that way. Peeling. One should not peel or shell fruits, vegetables, nuts, etc., for later use. They may be peeled and shelled only for immediate use. Now, you might have a question on this. Remember, what are the three requirements? Three ironclad requirements. Good from the bad, immediate usage, and with your hand. Okay. So now 1 second. Even if it's being peeled for immediate usage, isn't that a case of, is that good from the bad or bad from the good?
Bad from the good.
That's bad from the good. So why is that allowed? Why are you allowed to have a banana on Shabbos? An orange on Shabbos? Sorry? Okay, but so you're taking the bad from the good. That's the problem. But how are you getting there? By taking, right? I'm peeling the egg. I'm taking the bad from the good. That goes back to what I extended to watermelon. Derech achila. That's the way that you eat, right? No one is expected to put the hard-boiled egg into their mouth and spit out the shell. Right? I'm sorry. That's going to gross some people out. It would gross me out also. Yeah.
But
Okay.
we can cut lemon and put the lemon in there without squeezing it.
Correct. Well, yes. But that's not, you're not selecting.
Yes.
You're just cutting and putting it in. Correct. Okay. Let's do a little bit more. Chapter 5, my favorite, housework. Okay. Using soap and paste, washing dishes, cutlery, cleaning the table, not preparing on Shabbos for weekdays, sweeping and washing floor, laundering clothes. Okay. Let's see 233. Use of soaps, paste, and ointments. Okay. A bar of soap or soap paste may not be used on Shabbos. This involves the malach of scraping, right? Because you're taking off some layers of that bar of soap. The only soap that may be used is a thin liquid soap, right? So we can use liquid soap on Shabbos. Okay. We don't start to differentiate a thin liquid, right? Liquid soap can be used for washing, right? There are other issues of washing, but in terms of the soap, liquid soap, there's no issue of washing with your hands, anything like that. That is perfectly fine. All kinds of paste are prohibited on Shabbos: toothpaste, shoe polish, cleaning paste, hand cream, that we would not be using on Shabbos. Okay? So how does one brush their teeth on Shabbos? The Senior method is your mouth with mouthwash, and then spit it out, and then take a dry toothbrush, and brush your teeth, and you'll be amazed at what a good job it does, right? And pretty soon your mouth will be as if you had toothpaste in there, but you're starting with a liquid, not a paste. So that is fine, right? Actually, in Israel, Sensodyne, no, not Sensodyne. They actually sell that little tube, right? This liquid toothpaste in Israel. That's for Shabbos. Okay, so the toothpaste is an issue. As I always say, if your gums are bleeding, go to the dentist. It shouldn't be bleeding all the time. It's a problem, right? Floss, right? You should be flossing, right? Cut the floss before Shabbos. That's one of my domestic responsibilities. I cut the floss on Motzei Shabbos, myself and Natalie, the next Friday night, so that we've got it. So I do some housework. Right? Yes.
Can you use a tongue scraper?
A tongue scraper. What does that do?
Spare your tongue. I cannot live without it.
I don't think you
It takes like the gunk off your
And it's
Yeah.
scraping, and there's so many things that just scream.
I don't know if it's a problem. I don't know if it's a problem. That's done after brushing one's teeth, before brushing one's teeth.
I do it after.
I do that to
Uh-huh.
with what mouthwash.
So why is that any different than I don't know what the problem would be.
It's probably just, as far as like, what's actually happening is probably just as rigorous as like brushing your teeth with the.
You're brushing your tongue.
Brushing your tongue.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
You're removing something.
I'm sorry.
Because you're removing something, and it's bad.
You're not selecting.
So you want to move your tongue in. Yeah. 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 When I wash my hands, I'm also I'm cleaning myself. If I've got dirt on my hands, I wash my hands.
But you're not allowed to take a shower.
Well,
Correct.
because of the hot water.
Yeah.
What
There,
if you
it's,
take a shower with cold water? Of course,
So
nobody gonna do
even
that.
so, we don't. I typically, unless a person is a real what's called an isthmus, a person who's very, very, very finicky, right? So then we don't shower on Shabbos. We don't wash the entire body at once on Shabbos. Shower or bathe.
Right, I have one more question about
Yeah.
the soap. For the hand soap, what if it's a liquid that turns into a foam? Does that matter?
You know how when you pump it, there's a flow.
I don't think so. Yeah.
I see that Rabbi's house and the bathroom, so I think it's fine.
Getting
We
hot
don't
in
know
here.
if he's using it. We don't know if he's using it on Shabbos or not. Did you see him on Shabbos?
We went to
I don't
Rabbi's
think-
house on Shabbos.
I don't
yeah.
think the foam is. I don't think the foam is an issue, right? I don't think the foam is an issue.
Are you creating something?
Yeah, is it NOLAD? That's the question. Is it creating something new?
Or maybe should I just opt from getting those hand soaps?
Let me look into that. Let me look
Does
into
it
that.
also turn into
Yeah, some.
foam once
Yeah.
you, it turns in?
Yeah, when
Either
you start
rubber
washing, it
directly
also
in the
foams
hands
up.
or
Yeah,
After a while, it turns into a liquid.
I don't think it's an issue, but let me look into it. In the event of a wound or illness, a Rav should be consulted regarding how to apply ointments, since they must be applied differently on Shabbos than on weekdays, right? And typically what you want to do is not rub it in, right? But put it onto a Band-Aid and put the Band-Aid on. If a child has a diaper rash, so you would fill up, squeeze a lot onto the diaper and put it onto him, and he'll do what he does, and it'll be good. Okay, let's do one more. 234. Washing dishes. While washing dishes on Shabbos, one must take care not to do any act of wringing or squeezing. Okay, cloths and sponges may not be used for cleaning purposes, nor may steel wool be used, but they do sell Shabbos sponges. And there are two basic types of Shabbos sponges. One of them is it's just like a roll, a ball of plastic.
Mhm.
So there's nothing really absorbed inside of it.
So you can't use the scale.
Huh?
You can't use the scale.
the steel, I think, is probably too tight, and therefore they consider it to be like a sponge. Yeah. So wait. So there's steel again. There's steel wool and there's curlies. Is that right? Right. So if it is just a ball like that, it's right. The steel wool is very, very condensed like a sponge. But if it's like the plastic, but it's using metal material, right? Then that would probably be okay. They also do sell Shabbos sponges, okay, which are made in a different way and they don't actually absorb anything. They don't really absorb, right? It's not a sponge material. One may not use a bar of soap, as we said before, right? It is advisable to seek practical guidance on the permissive amount of washing dishes on Shabbos. Another issue is going to be the hot water, right? Because in our houses, right, we have a private house, right? So as soon as you turn on the hot water faucet, hot water comes out and the water level in your boiler goes down, cold water goes in, and you are cooking that cold water, right? So therefore, you can't be using hot water. You can't be using a sponge. You can only be using a regular sponge. You can only be using liquid soap. Okay. Now, if there is a non-Jewish person there helping out or washing the dishes, then they can do it however they want.
What about in like complexes where you don't have your own boiler or?
Okay. So if you're talking about a situation where there is many apartments that are drawing from the same water source. So there, it's not an issue of you using because your turning on the faucet is not bringing cold water in. There's constantly water going out and water going in, right? So if one is right, so if it's two families that or I don't know how it works in San Joaquin, right? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So then that would not be an issue because you're turning on the faucet. Yeah, you're turning on the faucet is not causing the water to go down in there, right? But in general, when it comes to non-Jewish person helping, whatever you are allowed to do, albeit in a limited manner, but you're allowed to wash dishes. You have limitations on how you can do it. So if you're allowed to wash dishes, then they too can wash dishes in however they want to wash the dishes. But something that you're not allowed to do, laundering, for example, laundering, right? It was by washing dishes, there's no prohibition against washing dishes. There are other prohibitions along the way that you would need to navigate. Laundering is one of the 39 malachot. So you can't launder. Therefore, you can't have the non-Jewish person do the laundering for you. Now, one might ask,
you cannot.
cannot.
Okay.
Now, one might ask, well, as long as they can wash the dishes in whatever way is easiest for them, so can they use my dishwasher? Can I have them load my dishwasher and turn it on? So there, even though there we have a term that's called afsha milta. It's loud matter. Even though our dishwashers now, the newer ones are very, very quiet. You have to put your ear against it to know, right? Is it actually on? Is it working? Right? Is it on or not? But the mechanical things like that, the machine things like that we stay away from. But for them to wash however they want to wash, that would not be an issue. Yes, Rachel.
So, one of the fun things about this new house is in the kitchen sink, the faucet, the main faucet, there's like a little filtered water faucet thing, but the main faucet is, powered, or it's touch, and it comes on. It's smart, it's considered a smart faucet. So you just tap it and it comes on.
Mm. Mm.
but it only works.
Is it
that way.
sometimes like a handle for the automatic?
So it has, no, there's no, like,
It's full.
it's fully, like, we've tried to like do things with the handle, it will not come on unless you tap it. So, and along with that, there's a little light at the bottom
Mm.
that comes on.
Right. So even if we put it in a position where the water won't come out, the light will come on, like when you pass by it or when you tap it. Period.
Okay, so I'm not familiar with that. I'm an old-fashioned kind of guy.
So we've just been using the little filter guy because there's nothing.
Yeah,
that happens with
Yeah,
it.
you wouldn't be able to use that other one to get the water out. That's the only way you can get the water out.
Yeah, it's like this, so when we're getting ready to do not too out yet, and we're standing there. Fill up.
Well, why don't you fill it up before Shabbos?
That's good.
Fill up a pitcher before Shabbos to use for that. That'll make it a little bit easier. Now, if you're saying that whenever you walk past there's a little light,
If you put your hand close enough.
okay. So what I would say to do is take a piece of tape and cover up that little light. You don't want the light to go on. You don't know if the light's going on, right? And yeah, that's what I would say to do.
Very fancy sink.
They
Like they upgraded the sink.
The day that we got the keys, they put it around the faucet, making sure we knew that that was like the coolest feature.
Literally the only thing.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, good. So we'll pick up on 2:35 next time.
So we're gonna stick with the 6:50 time?
Okay, so we're going to stick with the 6:50 next week for sure, because Marv is still at 6:30. The week after that, Marv is at 5:30, 5 o'clock.
Mhm. I don't mind coming early. I mean, I'm gonna fall asleep. Sorry.
Okay. What time were we at before we moved to 6:50? Were we
Like
earlier,
5:30.
later,
Yeah.
earlier?
Yeah.
Okay, so for a few weeks, we can move to 5:45. Does that work for people? So next
Yes.
week, till 6:40, okay? But after that, we will, 6:50, thanks. Yeah, after the 6:30 Mariv, then when we change to the davening time, it'll go to 5:45. And it'll have to be a little bit of a moving target for a little while, because as Marav keeps getting later, I'll get a little bit later, then we could jump it in. Okay, I also have 2 bar mitzvah boys that I study with. Okay, well, we'll sort it out. Next week is simple. After that, we'll say 5:45. Yeah, I'll have to sort out the bar mitzvah kids. All right, very good.
Do you want me to reach out to you or you gonna reach out to me?
Yeah, I will reach out. Remind me again in a day or so. Let me look at the calendar and work out. Okay.
So I'll text you then from
Yeah.
the.
Yeah. Okay. Good night. Good night. Good night.
Good night.